Pitch to Pro is the official podcast of Ozark United FC. This will be our platform to tell our story about the club and the special place that we call home, Northwest Arkansas. This is a journey. We want to bring you along for the ride. We'll share what's going on behind the curtain, help educate the community at large about soccer, our league, and give updates on the progress of the club along the way. Together, we'll explore and unpack our journey to professional soccer, the magic that is NWA, our community, and talk all things soccer from on the pitch to behind the scenes, telling the story of our club. Pitch to Pro podcast is proudly sponsored by podcastvideos.com. Podcastvideos.com is Northwest Arkansas's premier podcast recording studio. Equipped with industry-leading equipment, the recording studio and services save you time, money, and hassle. They are dedicated to helping you create, record, and publish high-quality podcasts for your audience. Be sure to check them out today at podcastvideos.com.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Pitch to Pro podcast. I'm your host, Wes Harris, Managing Director for Ozark United FC, Northwest Arkansas's professional soccer club, playing in the United Soccer League. Today, I am excited to welcome back Miss Jenn Ramczyk and Natasha Brand, co-founders of Her Game 2 USA, an initiative focused on the advancement of women in soccer and sport. So welcome back, ladies. Thank you again for joining me for round 2 here. Let's just give everybody a little bit of a refresher who maybe just, they didn't see part 1, but Her Game 2, talk about it and what's the initiative? What should people know?
So briefly, it started in the UK in 2021, brought to the States in 2022 with a video launch. And it's about just the equality in the game and letting women know that this is a safe space for them. They are allowed to watch and love the sport of soccer and be a part of it in any way, shape, or form, reffing, coaching, whatever they want to be and how they want to be involved in the game. This is a safe space for them to be involved.
I think that's such a good shout too. You started mentioning all the different ways. There's so many different ways that people can be involved in the sport. Mm-hmm. You don't just have to be a player or a coach or a fan. Mm-hmm. There's referees, there's people that work in the front office of clubs or behind the scenes in initiatives like this, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Or brands that, are involved in the game and partner in those ways too. So I love that. And I always tell people there's so many different ways that you can be involved.
Mm-hmm.
So, I love that. Thank you for that background. You guys have been at this, as you said, since 2022. And we talked a little bit on the last episode about how, sometimes you may think that it's slow progress and slow going, but it takes it's a big mouthful to chew. and the U.S. is so much broader and more space to cover. And different challenges, as you guys mentioned in the prior episode, than what your counterparts in the UK were experiencing as well. Can you talk a little bit for people about the progress you've made? Like, what have you guys been working on so far in the US?
So our first goal was just to bring awareness, let people know we exist here in the States, which it was in the social medias and trying to post on it more regularly than what we do. And there's always room for improvement on that end. But and now we're really now this year we have 3 directors, and we're really wanting to push the education side this year and really focus on education of what the sport is and who's involved and how you can be involved, and grassroots and young girls falling in love with the game and staying in love with the game. As we talked about previously, it's not about just loving the game. You got to stay in love and be pushed along that way and not discouraged. So that's kind of where we've been going.
Love that. Well, you mentioned off camera that you've had, or maybe in the last episode, I think you hit it, that you had some clubs that were on board that you started to partner with. So can you name some of those clubs? Like, will we know any of them, for our listeners out there?
So you may not know some of them, but you may know some because of where you're located, depending on where you're watching from. So our first club to ever partner was DeKalb County United. They're in a suburb of Chicago. They're about an hour outside of Chicago. They were the very first club to sponsor or partner with us, but full disclosure, I work for them as well. I'm their graphic designer, so kind of had an in with that club, but still they partnered with us. Then we have in Eau Claire, Wisconsin, Bateau FC. And they actually happened to reach out to me. Like they saw the campaign and reached out to me, not I had to go to them, which that doesn't happen every day, and nor does I expect that to really happen ever again. But it's great that we have them. And then there's NJ14 in New Jersey, Dutch Soccer, State Line SC for soccer club, which confuses me. And then we have Flatirons Rush. They're a USL team in Colorado. And a big shout out to them. They last year had a dedicated fixture for us at her game too. I flew to Colorado, was at the game, for the game, and then flew home. Like literally just flew to Colorado for the game and flew home. That's my dedication for her game too. And then we have Junction FC, the women's game, which they're in. Actually, they're not that far from here. They're closer than I am. They're in the Bloomington area of Illinois. And then we have Dynamo FC. We have Louisville FC in Louisville, Kentucky, or Louisville, Tennessee. And again, that's a USL team, and that's the women and men's. The women's recommitted to be a partner with us in the States. The men haven't let me know that they would like me to do that. They did partner with the UK group. So in a sense, they did partner with us.
Yeah.
And then the last one I want to mention is, it's not a partnership, but it's a huge endorsement, is Hope Solo endorsing her game too, and our campaign and what we stand for.
Oh, I love that. I love that. So, starting to continue to educate and make people aware.
Yep.
You're starting to find, some support with clubs, whether it be youth, whether it be in the pro space. Are there any other partners that you guys, that we would know of that are starting to pick up on the Her Game 2 movement?
That's a great local partner. So Ozark Hellbenders, our Ozark United FC supporters group,
I love that.
Stepped up to be our first Arkansas partnership.
Oh, wow.
And obviously I have an in because I'm on the starting 11, the leadership. So maybe I guilted them into it, But that's really great for Arkansas, because I think that sets the stage for the teams and the grassroots teams around to,
absolutely,
to pick up. And we've been talking to several referee associations, state associations for the refs. So I think that is something that we're looking at next. And then leading on from that is our website has a reporting system. So you can log on if you have experienced abuse in any shape or form, whether you're a referee, a fan, at any level of game, and it will come to us as the lead team. And one of our background things that is taking time is there is not many of us on our lead team to deal with the reports. So we would mediate for clubs and organizations if this happened. So, for example, if a referee had put in a report that they didn't feel comfortable going to the state association with, we could then mediate for them, between them and the state association. So that's the other thing in tandem with the education part that we're really working on, is the reporting system and being there to support women that have encountered abuse.
That's great. Did I see an EA partnership announced recently?
Yes.
So EA Sports, if you play the game, if you play FIFA, you could actually choose to have a Her Game 2 jersey. And actually the billboard going around says Her Game 2. It's a whole big thing. Actually, I've had requests. I don't know if they had it in the UK yet, but I'm working on bringing it live. So the jersey they're wearing in the game, if you've ever played the game, a lot of people have asked, can we get that jersey?
Oh, wow.
So I would love to produce that jersey and sell it. And then one thing about, we're a not-for-profit, so if we could do that and sell it, that money would go right back to grassroots girls, buying them cleats if they needed, helping with club fees if they need it, whatever, that's where. So one day we would love to get there where we're really supporting the grassroots, not just bringing awareness and helping them through it, but actually physically showing them, hey, here you are, here's your things.
That's so cool. It's the most played, I think, one of the most played video games. I don't want to speak out of turn.
Yeah, we'll go with that.
One of the most played video games is formerly, FIFA, whatever the year is.
Yeah.
Now they removed the FIFA tag, didn't they? I think it's EA 25
or something. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Not a big video game person, but hey, it's exposure is exposure.
Yeah. I've only recently rediscovered with kids, but it's been a while. But there were times I would play. That actually used to be a way for me to connect with friends that I no longer lived in the same area with. We would, we were at different schools or different areas, and had a minute and would text each other FIFA 10 minutes, like play a 10-minute game, and then you'd talk through the headset. So anyway, game connects in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
So you started to hit on some of your, and we talked about this last time too, like the issues that are, a little bit different than what they were experiencing in the UK, but in the same vein, still part of the same movement, and the ultimate goal of what, you guys are trying to work towards, which is advancement of women in sport.
Yes.
And what are some of those things in the US that maybe are kind of the most common that you guys have run into or see or experience?
So we can both speak on this, but from my side, it's the questioning whether I know the game. It's asking me questions to prove that I know the game. So the number one question is, well, you got to explain offsides before I trust that you know the game.
Wow.
So me being a little sassy sometimes.
As you should be.
Yeah, I turned and asked them, do I need to explain it? Because you don't understand it. And that shut him up pretty quickly. And then that was at a pub in Chicago. And pretty much after that, nobody questioned why I was sitting there to watch my game. I love that. But I said it kind of loudly too, so that people looked at him. I wanted to embarrass him, to be honest. But so that's, I think for me, and that was partly why I wanted to bring it, because I was talking to other people and they were having those same experiences. It's the questioning whether we know it, or questioning why would you like it? Like, is it just for the boys to watch the boys play, or to get the boys to look at you kind of thing? And it has nothing to do with that. Like, that's not why we go into it. Now, there might be a handful who do go into it for that. There are always going to be. But for the majority, most girls are watching the sport because they love the sport, not for who they're looking at.
I think to that end, in the UK, like we said, it started very much about the sexism and the fans, and slowly rolled into equality across the board for girls getting into the game. And then, like we said, the staff, the players, refs, fans, parents, dads of girls. We've got a couple of grassroots players, dads, male coaches of girls' teams. They're really getting involved on this. And I think the important thing as well here is the dropout rate of, I mean, I know that is not just girls, but ending rec and not having anything in the junior high level, particularly in this area, it varies across the states, but keeping girls involved through high school if there's not opportunities for club in the area, but really keeping them involved past 10 or so when they get out from that rec. What have we got to them? What is there for them to move into? And I know you've spoke before on the podcast about this, that next level. And so we want to be there. We want to be Her Game 2 USA to be that support for equality for the girls. So I think it's more now for us in the US, less about the sexism side, it's still there included, but much more about opportunities for girls and supporting them across the board. And that is, like we said, education, getting resources and information into school, the reporting system for referees and players. There's a lot that we want to do here. And so it's overwhelming at some point. There's too much.
Just a small
There's
job.
too much to do. And I think, there's so many ends. If you're a dad of a girl, if you've experienced abuse as a fan or, in a pub, there's so many angles to it and so much growth for it. And so, we are such a big country. We really need more people on board with Her Game too. And I feel fans as well, more female fans coming together to support. Yeah.
Creating that community. Even if you're not in the same city, state, hey, I can watch this game with my friend who is in 3 states over, but we're texting each other while the game's going on. That camaraderie needs to happen as well. Because, I don't know many women my age who watch soccer. I think I'm a rarity in my area. My hometown, which is a little town, it's me and my dad. Like, that's all I know about soccer fans. So it is trying to get the community or women to feel like, hey, this is for me. I can watch this sport.
And it's different across the country. It's very different what we experience in Arkansas. We're very lucky in our little pocket of Arkansas where we've got quite a lot of soccer opportunities now. It wasn't always that way for the girls. We've had, one of the things I think to talk about with the education side is we had points over the last 5 years where we couldn't form an age group team for the girls. And that makes things really difficult. And that's adding to the attrition rate and the dropout rate before they get to junior high. Because if they're having to scrape around, trying to find girls from other teams, combining age groups, that's hard. They're going to start getting despondent and then not want to play. So I feel, education and just getting more interest in the game that's as important as the sexism.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Absolutely.
Falling in love with the game.
Yeah.
That's what we want. We want them to love it as much as we do. And so, getting more ambassadors across the country and also, people willing to help with all the wheels and cogs in the background. There's a lot. And so,
there is?
Yeah, hoping for visibility and more like-minded people out there to really get this message and hit the grassroots teams, make these girls feel valued. Yeah.
So you started talking about it a little bit, but as you look forward, there's so much to chew off and chew on, I should say, you bite off more than you chew, whatever the saying is, but there's so much to be done.
Yeah.
And at some level, that's a little bit disheartening, but also speaks to the need to the work. And on the positive side, the opportunities of completing that work and bringing the culture and the populace to a better place collectively.
Yeah.
But what are you guys looking for? What's next? What's on the immediate horizon for you guys?
So in 2025, we actually had our meeting with our high level people and a few of our ambassadors who happen to get on the call. And our goal for 2025 is going to be education. Because we believe that's where it starts. We've got to start educating and try to get into the schools and get the young ones. And it's not just educating the girls, it's educating the boys as well. Educating them that this game is for everyone. Because a little side note story, but it's relevant, is a 8-year-old girl was told by an 8-year-old boy that she wasn't allowed to play the game. Now, that should not happen at that age. And that's where education is going to come in, not, like I said, not just for the girls, for the boys to realize this is for everybody. So that's our number one focus is education. I think the number 2 focus is getting that funding. However, we may need to get that. We're going to, next couple months, we're going to be having a funding page right on our website so people can fund to write to us, and then we can help the grassroots, because that's where it starts. That's where the kid falls in love with the game, and just for the love of the game and not anything else. So that's what we mainly talked about, was those 2 things: grassroots, education.
And then I think thirdly on that is more this podcast, for example, getting visibility out there, to hoping that some of these clubs will see and they'll want to stand alongside us. So a partnership, we have a club partnership packet that we can get out. We can talk to club owners and explain to them like what that means for the club to stand by Her Game Too and be aligned with us.
Yeah. So it costs no money to be
it costs no money. It's as expensive or cheap as the club wants it to, as you want it to be. So it's manageable for a grassroots club, it's manageable for a rec league, it's manageable for a state association, a USL team, it doesn't matter. An academy. You can buy stuff to use. You don't have to. But just having a girls team being able to have our badge, the Her Game 2 patch on their jerseys, have dedicated fixtures for their games. When a club aligns with Her Game 2, it's important, and it starts at those grassroots ages.
And I think, and you guys would be able to speak more to this too. And you'll probably just say, yes, there's so much to do, and that's one of them, is more female coaches and opportunities.
Absolutely.
For female coaches.
When there are coaches, they're not questioned about their coaching ability because of their sex. Because they're, even in our video, if you've watched our video, one of them is, I don't want my child coached by a girl. That is one of the comments. So You're right. That is another.
Because I think too, and I think that this is a, in general, statement around coaching education in the youth game today, that there's so much opportunity there. And it's not necessarily because, people don't know what they're doing per se, and they want to just jump out there and help, and like, that's great. So bringing some level of consistency as to what are the main tenets of the game that we're trying to get across and do. But I think the other piece of it is when kids have a good experience with their coach, and that coach, it's much more for me, especially at the grassroots level, less about teaching the game the right way, but more around providing an environment where kids can fall in love with the game.
Yeah.
And they're much more likely to do that when they have a role model coach that is, oh, I see myself in that.
Yeah.
Right? Representation matters so much. And so that is something just in general, but then even more important on the girls' side within the attrition and the participation rates and all of those things that I think you guys can be a big advocate for, and I know you are already. But one of the things that, again, as a father of daughters, I jumped in to help coach my daughter's team because there wasn't not enough coaches, and I was actually hoping that, not because I don't want to coach my daughter, but I was the opposite. I would have preferred for her to have an amazing female coach, and have that for her and be that her experience. So,
and then it probably helped her fall in love with it because she sees another girl or a lady who is. Because if you coach with passion of the game, regardless of your skill level of the game, if you're coaching with passion, that's going to rub off on the child or the children. So,
if my daughter ever sees this, I love you, baby. I love coaching your team. I don't want you to get the wrong idea. It's just that, like I said, I know she'll get that eventually. And she does get that at practice every day. Shout out to Coach Leslie Platts. Phenomenal coach. Who runs their age group training sessions. I get them on Saturdays for game day. So, but I think what you guys are doing is so important. And I'm really glad that you mentioned kind of the ways that's what I wanted to focus on now, is ways that people can get involved. Whether that's, you guys talk about it, but whether that's as a partner, as a behind the scenes volunteer, how do you encourage people in different ways that they can get involved?
So, they can get on our website, thehergame2.com. There is a page And that you fill out a form about being involved, that you want to get involved. And what level do you want to get involved? Do you want to be an ambassador? So like an ambassador, just quickly, ambassador is someone who they support that club. So like for me, I'm a Liverpool fan, and this is just hypothetical because obviously I'm not in the UK. But there was like a Liverpool FC here that lived near me, and I was going to all the games. I could apply to be, and I say apply, but it's just because you're filling out an application kind of thing. But you say, hey, I would love to be an ambassador for Liverpool. And then us as a lead team look at it. We talk to the person, see their commitment level and everything. And then we go, okay, you're the ambassador. And then the ambassador is our lifeline to the club. So that now we've extended, and it's not just the team, the directors who are trying to get that team to partner. It's that ambassador's role to be that person to talk to the club. So they look and find who's the right person to talk to and all that. And there's some teams that have 2 ambassadors, one for the club and one for the supporter club, just because they're 2 entities and you want to keep them separate.
Yes,
So that there's that way. There's the ambassador that way. And that's where I'd really love to grow our ambassador, because once we grow ambassadors, we grow partnerships. That's where it starts. But there have been clubs who've reached out, like the Bateau FC, and said, hey, I want to be a part of this. So a club can go online and say, hey, I'm XYZ club, and I really support this message and would really like to partner. And then I usually have a conversation with them of, okay, you want to do this, but do you have somebody that can be your ambassador? Because we want somebody, like if someone reports something, if there's an ambassador, then that ambassador gets to take it up with the club, and it relieves the pressure from the directors of having to do all the work.
Yeah.
So you've got that. And like we said, the partnership is as cheap or as expensive as you want it to be. Like we have a form and we list out possibilities of what you can do as a partner, and you can take all of them. You could do one. Like DeKalb County United, they just have a graphic banner that says DKCU plus her game 2. Mm-hmm. And that's it. And it's at the ground where they play, so everybody sees it. And they make sure they put it right at the entrance. So literally everybody sees it. Which I'm totally good, because that's, again, exposure. So you have those 2 ways. And then we actually had a girl reach out, and she wanted to be a part of it, but she had no club, and she wanted to know how she could be involved. And I'm like, well, what do you like doing? And so we talked to him about that, and then figure out, okay, what is your avenue? Because I would love for our website to have a blog every 2 weeks or something. So if it's somebody who's a great writer and can write on their experiences in the game, mm-hmm. come on board, do that. You don't have to be in the public eye, or you don't have to be going to a club and trying to convince them to be a partner. There's other behind the scene things they can do. They just have to reach out to us on our website and say, here's my skill set. I'd really like to be involved. I love what you guys are doing. And then we, as the 3 directors, will go, oh, okay, let's have a conversation with them. Let's see where this takes us.
Yeah.
With the size of the country, we need visibility for the campaign, and we need a podcast and a blog. There's only so much.
There's so much to do.
Can do, and we don't have the skill set for all of us. Yeah. And so that's a great way, to be involved. Contact the amount of clubs we have in the US.
Oh yeah,
it's just so we are only able to. We're trying to concentrate on our local areas this year and build out. And we need the visibility for people to see this and hop on board. So
we just keep adding more, don't we?
We do. Yes, we do.
But I mean, one of the things that I'm really excited about is the launch of the USL Super League and the continued, work that league is doing, and God willing, we're able to, bring that to Northwest Arkansas as well. And we have, I think there's almost 40,000 women, female college soccer players across the whole league, D1, 2, 3, JUCO. Yeah. And up until the start of the USL Super League, there were 12, 14 NWSL teams that maybe needed 3 roster positions every year.
Yeah.
For the, you can do math.
Yeah.
Like, that's just, you hit an absolute wall after playing college. And how do we continue to provide those opportunities? And it's not just professionally, but especially grassroots, and get them involved and in love with the game, but also then allow them to pursue their dream and passion no different than they can on the boys' side.
Exactly.
So,
and we definitely want to hit the college teams as well. So
yeah,
I think that's going to be fantastic to have college players as role models.
Absolutely.
So
absolutely. I mean, and what, shout out to the U of A and what Coach Colby Hale has been able to do with that program. And
Colby Hale, we need to talk, Coach Colby.
But it's phenomenal for girls in this area, even to, I take my daughters to those games. They're a top 5, top 10 team in the country. And, the experience there, the attendance that they get there is incredible. I mean, the support for women's sport is, at an all-time high. So, I mean, you guys are right there doing such important work.
Wearing my shirt. Support women's sports.
Everyone watches women's sports.
Yeah.
That's what I love. Yeah.
We've had a lot of ball boy opportunities with U of A.
Oh, love that.
And so we'd like to see, that's something that we would like to see with not only her Game 2 games, but be able to have ball boys, ball girls in branded shirts. And
that's another way.
So there is just a lot. So we need help. Please help us.
HerGame2USA.com.
HerGame2.com.
HerGame2.com. HerGame2USA on
socials. Yeah.
Thank you, Natasha.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jen, so much for joining me. I applaud your efforts and your work. It is so needed. And I wish it wasn't, but it is so needed. And thank you so much for all that you're doing on behalf of my daughters and girls and everywhere. So thank you.
Thanks for having us.
That's it for this episode of Pitch to Pro. We hope you enjoyed it. Be sure to catch all the episodes on pitchtopro.com or look for Pitch to Pro on Spotify, YouTube, Apple, wherever you get your podcasts for more content. Until next time, cheers, Northwest Arkansas.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of the Pitch to Pro podcast. Be sure to tune in again in 2 weeks for the next installment. And check out the Stoppage Time series for a recap of today's episode. Be sure to find us at Pitch to Pro on YouTube, Instagram, and everywhere you get your podcasts. Until next time, Northwest Arkansas, cheers.